Today we're going to review the basics of color theory in a photography classroom. For a good photographer, color is an integral part of the constant image processing we do in our heads. We don't just see a composition in terms of lines and shapes, we see the colors in it and the way they look and work in harmony. Color can make or break a work of art, and that is also true in the photography world, so it's a good idea to have some clue what it's all about. It's well known that color can affect mood and, like particular shapes and lines, can be used to evoke feelings. Knowing what colors create which moods will help out any photographer. Color as we know it in regards to photography is usually discussed in terms of hue, saturation, and brightness. Hue is the color part of color. When we say a color is blue, purple, or yellow, we're generally talking about hue. It's the natural color before any shades, tints, or tones are added. Brightness, sometimes called the lightness, value, or tone, refers to how light or dark a hue is. In photography, this is easily adjusted by the exposure. For example, an overexposed image is very light, as seen here, while an underexposed image is very dark. Saturation, also called chroma, is the degree to which a color is colorful, as opposed to grayscale. So you might ask yourself the question, just how blue is that blue? A more saturated color looks more pure. So for example, that blue would be even more vibrant in color, whereas anything that is desaturated would look more dirty or diluted. Most colors found in nature are relatively unsaturated. Natural, pure color is fairly rare. Each color has a different intensity than others. Take the color yellow, for example. This hue is much brighter than that of, let's say, the color purple. In art, warmer colors are more intense than cooler colors. With that said, they tend to appear to advance towards us more, while cooler colors appear to recede. Color schemes or color harmonies are colors that work well with one another. They don't clash, but actually enhance one another. Those are complementary, analogous, and monochromatic. Complementary colors do exactly what they are named for. They complement one another. Complementary colors are opposite to one another on the color wheel, as seen here. These color combos include red and green, blue and orange, and yellow and purple. Next we have analogous. Analogous is kind of a funny name, but these color schemes are next to each other on the color wheel. Think of them as next door neighbors. Another way to remember two types of analogous color schemes is to think of warm and cool colors. Do you remember those? Warm colors, red, orange, and yellow, are all neighbors on the color wheel. The same for cool colors, green, blue, and purple. Once again, all neighbors on the color wheel. Monochromatic. This is the last color scheme that we're going over. With this color scheme, you are only working with one hue, so the hue that we see here is blue, and using the value to enhance it. In other words, you are using the hue, blue, and shade by adding black. We're getting a navy blue, and then adding a tint, which is adding white, which gives us a light blue. Your assignment for this week is to take 3 photographs, one for each of the 3 color schemes. Do not take a bunch of objects of certain colors like a red, orange, and yellow marker and pile them together. Remember, it has to be a good photo in the first place and show the specific color schemes as well. In the following slides, you will be presented with a variety of famous photographs taken from all over the world. On the worksheet given, write down the subject matter, the colors being used, and the color harmonies being presented. After we go through each of them, we will then discuss each as a group. So the first one that we have here is a famous photograph seen on the cover of National Geographic. This is titled Afghan Girl, and it was photographed by photographer Steve McCurry. This next one, a photograph for Vogue magazine, was photographed by famous photographer Annie Leibovitz. Next, we have a still life represented by photographer Timothy Hogan. And last, we have another photograph taken by photographer Jeremy Cowart. So before we get started going out and photograph, you need to think about, what you need to be doing, and things that we can think about are color and how it can enhance the mood or feelings in a photograph. Think about every single object in the frame. Are you sure you want it to be there? Think about what you are trying to say with the photograph. Is it just pretty, or are you trying to tell the viewer something? Think about the camera angle. Is it boring? Does it help to say something about the subject? Your photograph should reflect everything we have learned so far about physical choices, photo commandments, so avoiding clutter, rule of thirds, leading lines, so forth. Composition, line, shape, texture, shadows and light, and what you include in the frame, crop out any unnecessary backgrounds. And last but not least, make sure your photos are always in focus. So just kind of going through and showing some examples of how these color schemes have been used in everyday photography. You can jot these down to kind of generate your ideas from, or you can research a little bit later after this. So here we have an analogous color scheme incorporating the yellows, oranges, and greens. We have a complementary, including the oranges with the blue. Monochromatic, we have different shades of blue. Complementary, red with the green background. Analogous, yellow and green. Complementary, blue and orange. Another analogous, yellow and green. And monochromatic, different shades of purple. And last, another monochromatic color scheme.